It's for me a pleasure to join you in this moment in which you are presenting the activities put into practice during the last month. And I would very much like to congratulate Rector Francisco Rojas, because with your leadership, I am sure that the transition from a culture of imposition, domination, and violence to a culture of encounter, of dialogue, of conciliation, of peace, a culture of peace, will be now better facilitated. And in the southeast of Europe, in the Central Europe, in the Balkans, you have, and I must congratulate you because you have been in the last years doing these joint activities with the European Center for Peace and Development, European Center of Peace and Development, with the leadership of Negoslav Ostojic, is doing also very well. I would very much like to join you, therefore, and to say that, Rector, you are at this moment with a very good leadership, both in UPeace and in ICPD.
Jonathan Bradley, President of the Executive Board of the European Centre for Peace and Development, and Professor Negoslav Ostojic and his team can point to significant achievements during recent difficult times. In October of 2019, ECPD held the 15th in its series of international conferences entitled the UN Agenda 2030 to Transform the World. It involved distinguished scholars, diplomats, and public figures from many countries, especially Southeastern Europe. We were very pleased that Rector Rojas of UPeace joined us at the conference and gave us a keynote speech in which he spoke eloquently about shared global visions for the future roles of UPeace and ECPD. The conference planned for October of this year could not be held because of pandemic travel restrictions. ECPD did, however, hold the 8th in its series of global youth forums for the first time online, entitled Acting on the Earth Charter, Youth Power for the Common Future, and organized by Professor Arthur Lyon Dahl. It drew young participants from many different countries and resulted in refreshing and creative new thinking in a world under the shadow of coronavirus. ECPD has maintained its existing wide network of connections with universities and research institutes throughout Europe and beyond, and made new agreements with the University of Stavropol in the Russian Federation and the University of Timișoara in Romania. Major research and consultancy projects in the field of sustainable regional development have involved work in North Macedonia with very positive results, as well as projects in Istria and Montenegro. So this has been a year of achievement in adverse circumstances. Professor Ostojic and all his colleagues at ECPD are determined and enthusiastic about continuing to work closely with UPeace in the future.
I'm Professor Don Wallace, President of the Academic Council of the ECPD. Let me add a few words to those of my colleague Jonathan Bradley. I should note that in the absence in October of last year of our President Federico Mayor, I presided at the annual meetings of both the academic and executive councils in which Rector Rojas took an active and welcome part. I also presided at the conference mentioned by Professor Bradley. As our activities, we are publishers of countless studies on peace and economic and other development. We also publish books. Among the most recent, remembrances about two distinguished UN personalities who were also associated and active with ECPD, Boutros Boutros-Ghali, former Secretary General of the UN, and Maurice Strong, UN Undersecretary. Primarily, however, we are teachers. From the beginning of UPeace, we at the European Center for Peace and Development have thought of ourselves as the European campus of UPeace. We have programs at our headquarters in Belgrade, but also in Pula in Croatia, Ljubljana in Slovenia, in Skopje, and elsewhere. We have master's and doctoral programs, as well as special students. Our students from the Western Balkans and elsewhere have often gone on to distinguished careers. I can picture cabinet ministers attending our graduation ceremonies. Our courses cover a broad range of subjects in the fields of sustainable development, of human resources, and in law, and in economic diplomacy, among others. Because of the pandemic, we, like academic institutions worldwide, have moved our courses to an online format. Thus, to take one example, our Masters in International Business and European Union Law, which was to have been offered in Belgrade, will now be given online, at least for the foreseeable future. Let me conclude by extending to the Council of UPeace the warm greetings of Dr. Negoslav Ostojic, our Executive Director, and the greetings of all our other colleagues. Thank you.
In 2019, the 15th ECPD International Conference was held in Belgrade City Hall on the theme, The UN Agenda 2030 to Transform the World, with 39 high-level speakers, including the rector of the University for Peace. This was followed by the 7th Global ECPD Youth Forum over 2 days, where 86 participants from 30 countries engaged in a rich exchange on issues of particular concern to youth. The theme of Youth Power for the Common Future, Youth Mobilization to Address Present World Trends, used the Sustainable Development Goals as a framework for finding solutions to unsustainable world trends and existential risks like the climate crisis. In 2020, the pandemic canceled the international conference, but the 8th Global ECPD Youth Forum, organized by a team of talented youth, went online over 2 days on the topic Acting on the Earth Charter. Participants joined from all over the world, including Costa Rica, India, Nigeria, Finland, and Australia. After opening keynotes, including by the rector of the University for Peace, the youth joined in workshops such as on living the values of the Earth Charter. The participants were enthusiastic about their experience, and with the online format, it can be shared more widely.
Sustainable regional development and efforts to reduce the differences among regions are a major challenge in the region of Southeastern Europe. And therefore, in the reporting period 2019-2020, ECPD has focused quite strongly on these issues as a contribution to more balanced socio-economic development. For the North Macedonian government, a complex evaluation of the implementation of the strategy of regional development covering the period 2009-2019 has been conducted, and the results achieved are illustrating shrinking of GDP per capita ratio between the country's richest and poorest regions from 3.6 to 2.9, which is quite favorable. And we also produced recommendations for the next strategy, 2020-2030, which is to be adopted shortly. Similar studies were undertaken by ECPD for Montenegro and for the Croatian region of Istria.
Martin Luther King proclaimed that of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhumane. This is true in the Balkans, where the language of health has always been a cross-cultural lingua franca. The ECPD links many countries and specialists and conducts a postgraduate health school, international summer schools, special workshops, and several specific programs in public health, health management and biomedical engineering. We wrote the Skopje Declaration, Public Health, Peace, and Human Rights. Coined the phrase, the health of the public is a catalyst for peace and development, and designed a public health curriculum for peace. BME in Croatia reflected the work of the ECPD in human security, health disaster management and health diplomacy. At the time of COVID, the biggest question is the reinvention of public health within a framework of disastrous health crises. For COVID, we have case studies and conducted online events. Two emergent goals are to prepare for the coming crisis in mental health and to re-examine past work in brain research between America left brain split brain and Russia right brain as a useful tool to rapprochement. In 2019, the speaker received the International Gazi Peace Prize, Asia's foremost award for services to global public health.